Have you ever had that fleeting thought? What if you could just disappear? What if you could pick up your life, leave behind all the noise, the judgment, the expectations, and start fresh somewhere no one knows your name? It's a tempting idea, especially when the world seems to be watching your every move, ready to pass harsh judgment at a moment's notice. For most of us, that's just a daydream. But for Amber Heard, it became a real-life decision, a bold move to reclaim her peace and privacy after one of the most sensational trials the entertainment world has seen in recent years. If you followed the drama, you already know the story. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's defamation trial was like a media spectacle on steroids, a battle that went far beyond the courtroom walls. It spilled over into social media, late-night shows, gossip columns, and everyday conversations. Worldwide. It wasn't just a legal dispute, it was a public war fought with every tweet, meme, and headline. The scrutiny was relentless. The verdict was a blow, but the aftermath was even harsher. No matter which side you took, the fallout was brutal. For Amber. For a while, it seemed impossible for her to step out of the shadow cast by the trial. Every move was analyzed, every photo dissected. The kind of spotlight she was in wasn't the glamorous Hollywood kind. It was an unforgiving glare that exposes every flaw and magnifies every mistake. In the midst of all that, Amber made a decision that surprised many. She left the United States. She didn't just go off the grid for a bit. She moved her entire life overseas, choosing a quieter, simpler existence, far from the tabloid frenzy. Spain became her refuge. But it wasn't the Spain most people picture when they think of the country. Forget the hectic, bustling streets of Madrid with its ceaseless energy, the flashy billboards, the crowded cafes filled with tourists and locals rushing about. And it wasn't the Barcelona that many imagine either. A city known worldwide for its vibrant nightlife, stunning architecture, and endless stream of visitors soaking up the Mediterranean sun. Amber Heard chose a completely different path, one that offered quiet, calm, and a slower rhythm of life. She settled in a small, peaceful town, a place almost untouched by the relentless buzz of fame and media attention. This wasn't a random choice. For someone like Amber, whose life has been under constant public scrutiny, the idea of retreating to a place where the pace slows and the noise fades is invaluable. The town she picked isn't in any guidebook or travel blog. It's the kind of place where mornings begin with the gentle ringing of church bells rather than flashing cameras, and afternoons melt away in the shade of ancient olive trees instead of the glare of paparazzi lenses. Here she can walk freely, down cobblestone streets lined with low houses painted in warm earth tones, past little shops that have been family-owned for generations, and through small plazas where neighbors greet one another with a nod or a smile. In this town, life isn't measured by the number of followers or headline stories. Instead, it's about simple human connection, the kind that doesn't come with expectations or judgment. Locals say that Amber has been spotted in the local market, quietly picking out fresh fruits and vegetables, chatting briefly with vendors. In hesitant but growing Spanish, she's been seen stopping by a little bakery to pick up fresh bread, sitting at outdoor cafe tables where she blends in with pensioners enjoying their afternoon espresso and pastries. These aren't the scenes you'd associate with a Hollywood star, but that's exactly the point. She wants to experience life as anonymously as possible, to be just another face in the crowd rather than a headline. The town itself is surrounded by natural beauty, rolling hills, patches of vineyards, and olive groves stretching as far as the eye can see. There are winding country roads perfect for long, reflective walks, far away from the flashing bulbs and shouting crowds she left behind. The Mediterranean climate brings warm, gentle breezes and golden sunlight that softens the landscape and invites a slower pace of living. For Amber, this environment isn't just a backdrop. It's part of her healing process. Away from courtrooms and media frenzy, she's able to breathe, to reflect, and to start reclaiming a sense of normalcy that many thought she had lost forever. One of the most remarkable things about her new life here is the freedom to simply be a mom. Amber's daughter has been a central part of this move. In the U.S., their lives were under constant surveillance, with every public outing dissected and turned into content for endless gossip and speculation. Here, in this small town, Amber can protect her child's privacy in a way that was impossible before. The local parks offer wide-open spaces where her daughter can play freely and safely. There's no looming threat of flashbulbs or reporters lurking behind bushes. Instead, there's the laughter of other children, the rustling of trees, and the quiet comfort of a community that respects their privacy. Learning the local language has been another important step in Amber's reinvention. She's reportedly taking Spanish lessons seriously, motivated not just by practical necessity, but also by a desire to fully integrate into the community. Speaking the language opens doors to friendships, to understanding cultural nuances, to being truly part of the town rather than a distant observer. It's a challenging process, especially when starting anew as an adult, but it shows a commitment to this new life that goes beyond surface-level change. It's about belonging. Her choice of a smaller town rather than a larger city speaks volumes about her state of mind. Big cities, with their endless rush and constant social demands, can be overwhelming even for people who aren't constantly under the public eye. For Amber, escaping the frenetic energy of Hollywood and big metropolitan centers is a way to slow down, to find balance, and to build a life that isn't defined by spectacle. Small towns offer something rare, a sense of community that feels authentic and unmanufactured. Neighbors here don't know her from the gossip pages. They know her as a person, a woman walking her dog, a mother picking up groceries, someone who participates in local events without fanfare. This slower pace has also given Amber the opportunity to rediscover interests and hobbies that may have been lost amid the chaos of fame and court battles. Longtime friends and acquaintances say she's taken up gardening, spending hours tending to small plots of herbs and flowers. Gardening, with its slow, nurturing rhythm, offers a kind of therapy that's both grounding and rewarding. There's something healing about watching things grow under your care, a metaphor for the fresh start she's striving to make in her own life. In addition, Amber has been spotted visiting local art galleries and bookstores, immersing herself in the culture and creativity of the region. Away from Hollywood's scripted events and photo ops, she seems to be seeking out genuine inspiration and quiet moments of reflection. These small pleasures add texture to her daily routine, allowing her to rebuild her identity beyond the tabloid headlines. Of course, the move to Spain hasn't erased the past, the trial, the public battles, the intense scrutiny, but it has allowed Amber to step outside of that narrative. By choosing anonymity and a slower lifestyle, she's able to redefine what it means to be Amber Heard. Not just the actress caught in controversy, but a woman reclaiming her life on her own terms. Her decision to live in a town where the locals, a warm but respectful means she can experience normal human interactions without the constant pressure of fame. Conversations don't revolve around past scandals or court verdicts. They center on everyday things like the weather, local festivals, or new recipes. This normalcy, often taken for granted by most people, is a precious commodity for someone who's lived under a microscope for so long, and it's this normalcy that fuels Amber's hope for the future. It's not about erasing her history, no one can do that, but about creating a new chapter that isn't dictated by public opinion. The town she's chosen offers a kind of sanctuary where healing and reinvention are possible. Here, she can focus on what matters most: family, peace, and a chance to live life on her own terms. In many ways, Amber's move to this quiet corner of Spain is a bold act of courage. It's not easy for someone who once lived in the spotlight to embrace invisibility. It takes strength to leave behind the known, even if it's painful, and step into uncertainty. But it also shows wisdom, knowing when to pause, to step back, and to rebuild. Her story is a reminder that sometimes the greatest form of strength is the ability to slow down and start over in a place where the world doesn't know your name. It's about finding sanctuary in simplicity and peace, and in doing so, discovering a deeper sense of self. Amber Heard's new life in Spain may be quiet and far from the red carpets, but it's rich with possibility. It's a fresh start that many dream of, but few have the chance to pursue. And in this quiet town, surrounded by olive trees and gentle hills, Amber is writing a new story, one that's hers alone. Locals say they've spotted her in parks with her young daughter, enjoying The kind of simple pleasures that often get lost in the whirlwind of celebrity life. She's been seen sipping coffee at neighborhood cafes, practicing her Spanish, and quietly building a new life away from the glitz and glamour. It's a stark contrast to the image the world has of Amber Heard as the actress caught in a courtroom. Drama, but there's more to this story than just geography. Amber has even started going by a different name. It's not an official legal name change, at least nothing public, but it's a carefully chosen pseudonym she uses when meeting new people locally. It's a clever way to shield herself from her past and avoid the constant reminders of the trial and its fallout. When you're trying to rebuild your life, sometimes even your name can carry too much baggage. You might wonder, is this a sign she's running away? Or is it something else entirely? The answer is probably a mix of both. After the whirlwind trial and the endless public scrutiny, walking away from it all can feel like the only option. But it's also a conscious choice to prioritize healing, to focus on what matters most, her daughter, her mental health, and her personal peace. Many rumors swirled during and after the trial, claims that Amber was broke, blacklisted or completely cut off from Hollywood, but insiders suggest that's not quite accurate. While she has stepped back from the spotlight, acting projects still remain on her horizon. Indie films and smaller roles are reportedly in development, allowing her to stay connected to her career without the intense glare of major studio publicity. The choice to stay under the radar is intentional, a deliberate shift from being everywhere to being somewhere meaningful and quiet. This type of reinvention is actually more common in Hollywood than most people realize. When a celebrity becomes polarizing, when public opinion turns sharply against them, the smartest strategy is often to disappear for a while. Let the noise die down. Let the headlines fade. Give the world time to forget or at least move on. Then, when the moment is right, re-emerge on your own terms, on your own timeline. But even that is easier said than done. Experts say recovering emotionally from such a high-profile, deeply personal public trauma can take years. It's not just about changing location or name. It's about healing from within. And that healing journey is ongoing. Amber's move to Spain isn't just a physical relocation, it's symbolic of a deeper process of reclaiming herself and her life. There's something quietly inspiring about this. Whether you admire her or not, the idea of taking control, of setting boundaries, of prioritizing your mental health and family above everything else resonates. It reminds us all that starting over doesn't necessarily mean running from your problems. Sometimes it means redefining what success and happiness look like on your own terms. Now, you might be wondering about her daughter. Parenthood, especially, for someone in Amber's position, adds an entirely new layer of complexity. Raising a child amid such public chaos is no small feat. From all accounts, Amber is deeply focused on being a present mom. Spain offers her daughter a life that's much more normal and grounded than anything they could have in the US right now. Parks instead of paparazzi, playdates instead of press conferences. That said, the challenges of motherhood abroad are real. Adjusting to a new culture, navigating language barriers, and building a new support network take time and effort. But those closest to her say Amber is determined and committed. She's reportedly taken Spanish lessons, making sure her daughter grows up bilingual and immersed in a rich cultural environment. That's a huge step, not just for her career, but for their family's future. You may also be curious about what this means for Amber's professional life. Hollywood is a tough place, especially after such a public downfall. Studios can be cautious about hiring someone mired in controversy, but the entertainment industry is also forgiving in its own way. Reinvention is part of the business. There's always a chance for a comeback if the timing and project are right. For Amber, stepping back doesn't mean the end. It's a strategic pause. It's about rebuilding her reputation on her own terms, away from the toxicity of the trial's aftermath. Indie films and smaller roles allow her to craft a different narrative, one that focuses on her craft rather than the headlines. It's a slow but steady way back. This strategy of disappearing and re-emerging isn't unique to Amber Heard. History is filled with celebrities who have faded away when the public spotlight became too harsh, only to return stronger, wiser, and more in control. Sometimes that break lasts a few months, sometimes it takes years. The key is that it's a reset, not a surrender. Psychologists and celebrity publicists often talk about this pattern, the deliberate break or vanishing act, as a necessary step for survival in the public eye. When everything feels toxic, sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to remove yourself entirely. Let the storm pass, let the wounds heal, then once the dust settles, re-enter with fresh energy and perspective, and that's exactly what Amber seems to be doing. She's chosen Spain not just for its beauty and tranquility, but because it offers a sanctuary where she can control her environment, where she can be a mom without constant intrusion, where she can explore who she is beyond the headlines. This move is more than geography, it's a statement, a declaration of independence from the chaos that once defined her. But what about the critics? There are plenty who see this move as just a well-timed escape, a way to dodge accountability or run from consequences. That's one perspective. Another is to see it as a deeply human response to trauma and pressure. Everyone deserves the chance to heal. Everyone deserves the space to find peace. At the end of the day, Amber Heard's new life in Spain raises bigger questions about how we treat public figures. How do we balance accountability with compassion? How do we allow space for growth and change? Her story forces us to think about the costs of fame and the value of privacy. It challenges us to consider what it really means to start over. And maybe that's the takeaway here. No matter what you think about Amber Heard, her journey is a reminder that life is messy, complicated, and often unpredictable. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes starting over means embracing the unknown, stepping into a new place where no one knows your name, and daring to hope for something better. So, what do you think? Is Amber's move a courageous reinvention or just a way to escape? Would you ever consider leaving everything behind to start fresh somewhere new? Could you find peace in a quiet Spanish town, away from the noise? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share what you think about Amber's journey. And if you found this deep dive interesting, don't forget to check out our video on how Johnny Depp is rebuilding his life post-trial. The link is right here on the screen. Remember to like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell so you never miss a story that goes beyond the headlines. Because at the end of the day, it's never too late to turn the page and start a new chapter. Thanks for watching.